Hello and welcome to the Passion Driven Pioneers interview series. I'm your host, John Channon, and today I'm joined by Bill Tschida, who is the owner, chapter director of TGA of Central Hennepin County and Eastern Twin Cities. Bill, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, would you like to just kick us off with a brief background as to who you are, what you do, and then the business that you're in?
Yeah, definitely. So I own two franchise territories, TGA Premier Sports in Minnesota here in the Twin Cities. We run golf, tennis, and pickleball programs mainly for kids, kindergarten through fifth grade or ages 6 to 12 for the most part. Our programs are mainly after school evening programs throughout the school year. We like to call those enrichment programs because we're not only teaching the kids the fundamentals of the sport, but they're learning all about the sport. So they learn the etiquette, they learn about the equipment, they learn the science behind it. We try to give them a good overview of the sport, and then we take them through activities each week and progress them along the way. But we're really focused on them having fun with the sport and understanding if they like the sport and want to continue, and focusing on that they can play these three sports their whole life. They don't have to be even competitive. They don't have to make the high school team or the college team. We do have kids that progress that way through our player pathway, but they can just have fun with it. And then in the summers, we run summer camps. So that's the next level for the kids there.
Okay, great. Well, what was it that inspired you to get into this? In this case, you mentioned it's a franchise.
Yeah,
What's that spark that kind of inspired you to do this versus what maybe had you been doing before?
sure. Yeah, I worked for a buddy of mine in e-commerce in the automotive industry, a company called MA Performance, and worked for him. When he started the company, I was actually living with him and working just on the side, adding parts to the website, and then he brought me on full time, and we had four employees at that time, and we just built a business and struggled along the way for 15 years. After about 10 years, we kind of figured it out. We implemented EOS and we were at about 10 million, and we kind of hit a ceiling, and EOS kind of helped us overcome that. At about 15 years, he sold the business. And at that time, we were at about 65 million in revenue with, I believe, 120 employees. And I was the VP of operations and customer service. And about that 10, 11-year mark, I had kind of told Chris that I, after all that I'd learned, I'd love to start my own business and just couldn't think of an idea to start a business. So I started to look into franchise opportunities. I actually had someone that works for the government that helps people find franchise opportunities. Unfortunately, nothing he presented really lit a fire. And so we parted ways. And then about 3 months later in 2022, I started looking on my own and came upon Amazing Athletes and Youth Athletes United, which brought me to TGA. So Youth Athletes United owns multiple franchise companies that are similar to TGA. And I've been playing golf since I was 8, 9 years old. Really just kind of learned on my own, some help from my dad. And I wish I would have had more introduction. I went to a small private school and we didn't really have golf at the school. And um, when I got into high school, I didn't make the golf team. And so I wish I had that. And I've always liked working with kids. I started babysitting when I was, I believe, 11 years old. And I always had a passion for helping kids out and making things fun for kids. So yeah, that's what brought me to TGA.
So, how is the startup of this business different kind of from your other business that you were doing? And what were some of the things that maybe you learned in the other business that you brought to this one?
Sure. Yeah. I brought the EOS and implemented that right away, even as a team of one. Just tried to use that to set goals and to have those weekly meetings where I'm focusing on the future and that type of thing. Um, but yeah, it was definitely different having that financial weight on my shoulders now and trying to. I didn't do too much of the sales when I worked at the previous business, and so this business definitely a little different, a service-based business locally, where the my previous career we were made sales pretty much online across the world, and we didn't really have to do sales. People mainly came to us and just had questions. And so putting myself out there has been a challenge, but definitely a learning point for me and has helped me improve for sure.
Talk a little bit about maybe some of the work-life balance,
Hmm.
maybe when you first started this up versus kind of what does it look like now? And are
Yeah.
there any habits or rituals that you do to try to make sure you maintain that?
Yeah. I do have a 5 and a 3-year-old at home and a wife. So I definitely need to keep a work-life balance, and that's definitely tough. Especially nowadays with your phone and notifications and emails come through at midnight. And but I try to keep the 9 to 5 working and then focus on my family outside of that time as much as I can. And I really learned that from my previous business. Before I got married, I was working way too much for Chris, and I at one point just kind of set the schedule, and I'm going to work between these times. And now I've just held that through into my own business and try to keep that up as much as I can.
Good. Well, talk to us a little bit about your industry and
Mhm.
how you guys are remaining innovative in it's essentially youth athletics, really, right?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we had golf and tennis when I first started the territory on the Eastern Twin Cities, and then at the start of last year, I acquired the Central Hennepin County. That territory has been running for 9 years, and golf and tennis mainly throughout those 9 years. And then the franchisor just recently added pickleball, and as I'm sure you know, pickleball is a very fast growing sport among adults for the most part. And so we want to be the leader in youth pickleball, and so that's definitely one that has been working really well for us on the golf and tennis, and same for the pickleball side. I think what we do, like I said, is really just trying to make it fun for the kids, introducing them to the sport in a fun way rather than trying to get them to that next level way too fast. I think so through some private lessons and um, those that are PGA certified that coach adults, they might try to push kids a little too fast. And we just want to make it fun for those kids and get them interested in the sport and allow them to kind of grow on their own, if that makes sense.
And you are right, pickleball is quite popular.
Yeah,
But
for
it
sure.
but it's also a different type of game, right?
Mhm.
Than you probably think about when you first go in and learn it. I remember that. There's a
Yeah, it
lot there.
definitely is. And it's also, um, I would say, easier for the kids to pick up and start playing than it is tennis, where there's a lot more movement. Obviously, the court's a little smaller in pickleball. The ball moves a little slower. So I think that helps the kids get started, and they're able to rally a lot quicker from what we've noticed. And I think that makes it even more fun when they can get to a game quicker and be able to hit it back and forth.
So, changing subjects a little bit, would you mind maybe just offering us a glimpse into your future plans and goals that you have for your business? I know you just added another
Yeah, yeah. So
franchise, so
the territory that we have on the central Hennepin or the west side of the Twin Cities, we have I like to call it our hub location. We are partnered with Brookview Golf Course over there. So we run all of their youth programming. We have multiple adult programs as well. And we also offer private lessons at the golf course. And then we also partnered with the city of Golden Valley to run tennis and pickleball programs at it's essentially the corner of the golf course at their tennis and pickleball courts there. So we run kids summer camps and adult programs as well. So our goals for the future in the Twin Cities are to have more partnerships like that. May it be a golf course. We're working on some pickleball facility partnerships, tennis locations. We don't really have too much of a partnership besides that Brookview. Our other partnerships are, as I mentioned, throughout the school year with the public school districts and the private schools and whatnot. So definitely on the lookout for another partnership a golf course would be very helpful on the east side. And then just trying to expand throughout the whole Twin Cities, add programs and have as many as we can, essentially.
That's great. So I'm going to ask you my little magic wand question. So, you've been doing this for a little while. If you could wave a magic wand and change one thing about your business, what would that be?
I think the biggest thing for me would be to go back and have a better focus on the finances. I really focused on what I did best was the operations of the business and just adding as many programs as we could. And the financing side of things kind of just fell off and got lost. And so that's a big goal of mine here going into 2025 is trying to reel that back in. The franchisor YEU is very helpful with a budget builder that they've built. So to really focus on that, I think will help me and would have helped me if I would have done that in the start.
Okay, good. Well, I appreciate you sharing that and taking the time too.
Yeah.
So, knowing that this show, is really kind of targeted towards people who are going to be in their first few years of business, do you have any final thoughts or words of advice you'd like to share with our audience today?
Yeah, for sure. As a business owner, I didn't realize when I worked for Chris how that weight would be as far as the finances and the business and the stress. And really, my advice would be to just keep pushing. If you keep that energy going, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a struggle along the way, but eventually you're going to figure it out, and you're going to think about quitting at some point. And if you just keep pushing through, you're going to learn a lot. Even if at the end you fail, you're still going to learn a lot that you can bring into your next business or your next venture.
That's great. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time today, Bill.
Yeah, thank you for having me again.
Yeah, it was great meeting you and learning about your entrepreneurial journey. In this case, you're learning about the business of youth sports. So I appreciate you
Yeah.
sharing that. And to everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.